importer goes to the tariff commission. Guys, are you with me? Okay. Now, insofar as request is concerned, it is to be prepared by the importer or by the customs broker. After preparing the letter, the importer or customs broker proceeds now to the tariff commission. Dala niya po yung letter plus the attached documents po. Now, under the first paragraph of 1100, upon receipt of the letter request by the Tariff Commission, the Tariff Commission is required to render a ruling. So kung sinadmit po ngayon ang letter ni importer or ng customs broker, it's January 11, then under 1100, the Tariff Commission is required to make a ruling or to render a ruling what particular tariff heading or tariff classification the goods fall. Okay? And of course, the corresponding rate of duty. In other words, class, pag ako gumawa ng letter, ako importer o ako ang customs broker, nagpadala ko ng letter with the tariff commission. The tariff commission has the obligation to make or to act on my request. 30 days lang po ang ibinibigay sa kanila. Now, what is the purpose of the importer asking a tariff classification ruling? Number one po, iisa lang po ang purpose niyan. To avoid the penalty of surcharge under Section 1400 for misclassification. Kasi po, pag nagkamali po ang classification at it was found out by the BOC, mali po ang classification, then the BOC penalize or will penalize the importer. So in order to avoid that situation, the importer planning to import or proposing to import a certain article which is not specifically classified in the AHTN under 1100, the importer or that importer may ask the assistance or help from the BOC or from the Tariff Commission. Now, under the second paragraph, when the declared tariff classification of goods not a subject of a pending application. Ibig sabihin po niyan, kung meron na pong pending application with the Tariff Commission, there is no need for either the importer or exporter or the Bureau of Customs. Kung meron na pong pending na application and there is a dispute. Okay, or there is no dispute, there is, okay, there is a dispute. Let's say, ang importer is 5%. That is the importer. While customs appraiser or customs officer finds it 7%. Is there a problem or is there a dispute? Yes, there is a dispute. Because the importer has declared only 5%. On the other hand, the findings of the BOC is 7%. So, meron po bang problema? Yes po, meron po tinatawag tayong dispute po. However, if the importer has already filed an application for a ruling with the Tariff Commission, hindi na po mag-a-apply na ang BOC po, hindi na po pwedeng magtanong kasi meron na po nakapending eh. Si importer po, hindi na rin pwedeng magtanong kasi meron na po nakapending na application. Okay, so in other words, class, if there is a dispute and there is an application or pending application by the importer with the Tariff Commission, the Bureau of Customs will just wait for the decision of the Tariff Commission. Alin po ba ang tatama? Ito po bang 5% or 7%? In other words, if there is a dispute and there is a pending application by the Tariff Commission or by the importer with the Tariff Commission, the BOC will just wait for the ruling of the Tariff Commission. Which one is applicable? Which one is the correct tariff rate of duty? Is it 5% or is it 7%? But if there is no pending application with the Tariff Commission and there was a dispute, the BOC now will ask the Tariff Commission to rule. Ibig sabihin po niyan, ganito lang po para po maging simple, no? Pag meron na pong pending application and there was an issue between the importer and the BOC regarding which rate of duty is applicable or imposable, then hindi na po pwedeng mag-apply si BOC kasi may pending na pong application. In other words, if there is a dispute between the BOC and the importer, and the importer has filed an application for an advance ruling pursuant to Section 1100, okay, the BOC will just wait or will just have to wait the ruling from the Tariff Commission. Ngayon, kung wala pa po na pending application si importer and there was a dispute, what the BOC will do now is what? To ask the Tariff Commission to rule. In other words, class, pag merong pending application at nagkaroon po ng dispute, nagkaroon po ng laban yung dalawa, importer and the BOC, and there was already a pending application made by the importer, the BOC will just wait for the ruling. But if there was no pending application, then the BOC may pass it to the Tariff Commission to make a ruling. Okay? So, ibig sabihin po niyan, pag may pending nga, okay, mag-aantay na lang po ang BOC ng ruling. Pero pag wala pa pong pending application si importer, the BOC may ask. The importer also may ask as long there is no pending application. So normally po, pagka po nagkaroon ng ganitong issue, which one is correct? It shall be forwarded to the BCRC, the Evaluation, Classification, and Review Committee. So kung wala pong pending application si importer, the BOC may ask the Tariff Commission to rule on the correct classification. Pero pag may pending na po, hindi po didesisyonan ni BCRC kung ano po alin tama. The BOC or the BCRC will just wait for the ruling or the decision of the Tariff Commission because there is a pending application. Okay? Who may file for tariff classification? Okay? Now, it's either the importer, exporter. The BOC may ask or may file a request from the Tariff Commission a ruling in case there is no pending application. Kung wala pa pong pending at nagkaroon po ng issue dahil sa 5% or 7% at wala naman pong pending application si importer, then the BOC through the BCRC may ask from the Tariff Commission to render a ruling. Okay? Yan po yan. Now, pakibasa yung susunod na paragraph, Ms. Gutierrez. Second paragraph. Who may file? Yes. Okay. Okay. Now, who may file? Importer, exporter, or the BOC. So, BOC magpapile lang po yan ng request for ruling with the Tariff Commission in case there is a dispute. Dispute means the importer is contesting the classification by the BOC. And the BOC does not agree, or the BOC do not agree, or does not agree with the declaration of the importer. So, meron pong dispute, meron pong issue. So, if there is no application yet under first paragraph of 1100, the BOC may ask for a ruling. But if there is already an application under the first paragraph of 1100, the BCRC will just wait for the ruling. Yun po ang susundin nila. Now, in case a ruling has been made by the Tariff Commission, what is the effect? As a general rule, it is binding upon the parties, including the Bureau of Customs. Pag sinabi po ng Bureau ng Tariff Commission, it is 5%, then, as a general rule, the duties and taxes, or the duty, shall be assessed based on 5%. But if the ruling of the Tariff Commission is 7%, okay, then, again, as a general rule, it shall be binding also upon the importer. So, pag 5% po ang ruling ng Tariff Commission, it is favorable to the importer, right? Tama po ba, Ms. Gutierrez? Pagka po ang ruling is 7%, it is not favorable to the importer, but favorable to the Bureau of Customs, right? Tama po ba? Okay, very good. Now, if the ruling of the Tariff Commission says 5% lang yan, Mr. BOC, as a general rule, it is binding upon the BOC. Exception. When the BOC is not convinced with the ruling of the Tariff Commission that the article should be subject to 5%, then the BOC may refer or can refer the case to the Tariff Commission, to the Department of Finance Secretary. Ibig sabihin po niyan, nag-rule si Tariff Commission, either it is favorable to the importer or favorable to the BOC. Pag favorable po sa importer, of course, the BOC will complain. Bakit 5 hindi 7? As a general rule, the ruling shall be binding upon the parties. Okay, so, if the BOC is not convinced or satisfied with the ruling of the Tariff Commission, the BOC may or can refer the case to the Department of Finance. Nakikita niyo po ba yung illustration ko? Guys, Mr. Jose, Mr. De Jose, nakikita mo? Mr. Lily, nakikita mo? Hindi makita. Okay, oh, ito, nandito. Oh. Hindi mo makita ito nasa harapan ko. Ito. Nakikita na? Okay, so therefore, pag nag-rule ang Tariff Commission, dalawa po ang effect niyan. Pwede pong favorable sa importer or favorable sa BOC. If it is unfavorable or not favorable to the BOC, as a general rule, it shall be binding upon the BOC. Okay? If the BOC is not convinced or not satisfied with the ruling of the Tariff Commission, ang sabi kasi ni Tariff Commission, 5% lang, hindi satisfied or convinced si BOC. It does not necessarily mean when it says it is binding, the BOC can no longer do something to question the ruling. Okay? Hindi naman pwedeng sabihin, sabi ni Tariff Commission, 5%. Hindi pwedeng sasabihin na lang ng BOC. Susunod ako as a general rule. However, If the BOC feels that the ruling is incorrect or improper, then the BOC can refer the case to the Department of Finance whose decision shall be final. Ibig sabihin po niyan, pagka po nag-rule ng Tariff Commission at hindi pabor sa BOC, the BOC can always refer the case to the Tariff Commission or to the Secretary of Finance to make a ruling also. Kaya po nakalagay dyan, unless the Secretary of Finance rules otherwise. Pag sinabi ng Secretary of Finance, tama yung Tariff Commission, then that would be the time that the Bureau of Customs will use the 5%. Okay? Maliwanag po. Now, assuming the ruling of the Tariff Commission is 5%, is it favorable to the BOC or is it favorable to the importer? Ms. Gutierrez? No. Pagka 7% po ang ruling, Mr. Karandang, question, 5% ang importer, 7% ang findings ng customs appraiser. My question, assuming the ruling of the TC is 7%, is it favorable to the importer or is it favorable to the BOC? BOC po, kasi po, mas mataas. Pag 5% po, ang ruling, it is favorable to the pagka 5% po, favorable sa importer. Pag 7% po, unfavorable to the importer but favorable to the BOC. Right, Mr. Karandang? Now, if it is favorable, if the ruling is unfavorable to the BOC, as a general rule, the ruling shall be used by the BOC. However, if the BOC feels that the ruling is incorrect or inaccurate, then the BOC may go to Secretary of Department of Finance. Maliwanag po? Yan po yun. Now, if it is 7%, this time, it is unfavorable to the importer. O ano po ang gagawin naman ni importer? Kasi po, 7%, yan na po ang gagamitin ni BOC in computing the customs duty. Ano po? Ang gagamitin naman po ni importer is Section 1106 po. Or 1103 po. Section 1103. Yan po ang gagamitin naman niya to question now the ruling of the Tariff Commission. And that is otherwise known as what? Protest po. In other words, class, okay, nandyan po yung Section 1106, not 1103 pala. I'm sorry. 1103 is when to file it. When to file the application for ruling. 1106 provides for protest. In other words, class, pag 7% po, ang remedy po ng importer to question the 7% ruling is to file a protest pursuant to Section 1106. Yan po yun. Actually, this is administrative procedure. Okay? So, pag hindi po satisfied ang BOC, BOC goes to DOF. While if it is the importer or it is the importer who is not favorable, okay, then the importer can use or can avail of Section 1106 by filing a protest regarding the 7% imposition. Okay? So, ibig sabihin yan, kanino siya magpapile po niyan? O, pwede siya magpile ng protest, okay, with the Commissioner of Customs. Pag nagdesisyon si Commissioner of Customs, tama yung 7%, punta ka ng CTA, then hanggang makarating kayo ng Supreme Court po. So, yan po ang dalawang pwedeng, okay, epekto po. So, isa pong favorable at isa pong unfavorable. So again, let me repeat to you, if it is favorable to the importer, the BOC may always ask the DOF secretary to rule. But if it is favorable to the BOC, the importer may ask or may file a protest under Section 1106. Okay, filing a protest with the commissioner, then to the CTA, Court of Tax Appeal, and finally, the Supreme Court po. Yan po ang procedure. Okay, so di sabihin po niyan, pagka nagro-rule po ang Tariff Commission, meron pong mananalo at may matatalo. Pag hindi po satisfied yung hindi po satisfied yung natalo, that person or that party who is not satisfied with the ruling of the Tariff Commission can avail of remedy, legal remedy po. Pag BOC po, punta ng DOF. Pag nagdesisyon po ang DOF, yun na po ang susundin. Okay? Pagka naman po hindi pabor ang importer, mataas po, punta naman po siya sa Section 1106, filing of protest. Up to the point na makarating sila sa Court of Tax Appeal and makarating po sila sa Supreme Court po para lang po malaman kung alin po ba ang tamang rate of duty applicable. Mr. Karandang, do you have any question? Wala. So, ganun lang po ka-basic ang Section 1100 po. Now, before we proceed with the actual letter, I want you to read first Section 1103. So, sa 1100 po, ang sinagot ko pong tanong doon is who may file, what is the purpose of filing, and what is the ruling, when is the ruling to be made? Ganun po ang mga tanong. What is the purpose? Who may file? When is the Tariff Commission required to make a ruling? And what are the remedies available to parties who is not satisfied with the ruling? Yan po ang sinasagot ng 1100. Okay, Mr. Diose, Alquiros, Mr. De Jesus, the next time na malate uli kayo sa akin, hindi ko na itatanggapin. Sabihan mo si Fausto, magpa-admit na. Kayo, nasasanay kayo. Next time na malate kayo, wala na talagang admission. Okay? Mr. Alquiros, naririnig nyo ba ako? Aba, late na kayong pumasok, hindi pa kayo makapasok sa... Pag next time na malate kayo, hindi ko na kayo tatanggapin. Tandaan nyo, this would be the last and final warning. Klaro? Okay. Ay, hindi ko problema yan. Mr. Karandang, please read Section 1103. Okay, can you explain that? Yes, can you explain that? So, can you make the rule? Can you make the rule? Simple ruling. What's the rule? One product, one request po. Ganun lang po ang rule. Tama po ba? One request, one product. Hindi pwede pong dalawa, isa lang po ang sinasabi ng 1103. So therefore, whenever an importer asks for a ruling, that request for a ruling should cover only or shall cover only one product. In other words, the rule is this. One request, one product. Or one product, one request. Did you get it, Ms. Gutierrez? Yes, sir. Do you agree, Mr. Karandang? Okay, continue, Mr. Karandang. Now, what is the ruling or what is the rule regarding when to file? Okay, so therefore, is this 90 days requirement to file an absolute rule? No, it is not. It is only a general rule. Even though, kaya nga sabi ko sa inyo nga, 1100, dumating na, pwede ka pang mag-file, right? Kasi under Section 1103, it requires, okay, it requires that the advance ruling for tariff classification shall be filed at least 90 days before the importation. In other words, before the goods enters into the Philippines or enters the Philippine territory, okay, the importer should ask if the importer is not certain about the tariff heading and the rate of duty of certain item. At dumating na po, wala na po itong 90 days. In other words, even though the shipment or the goods has already arrived, still the importer can file a request for a tariff classification ruling. So, ibig sabihin po niyan, Mr. Karandang, the 90 days is only a general rule. It is not an absolute rule. Okay? Maliwanag? So, ibig sabihin niyan, even though the shipment has already arrived, okay, then the importer can still file a request for a ruling. Or dumating na, pwede pa. Ngayon, ang sinasabi dito, 90 days prior or before the importation or exportation of goods. So, which one would you avail, Mr. Karandang? The 90 days or even after arrival of the goods? Okay. Ms. Gutierrez, which one would you avail? Is it request after importation or arrival of the goods or before importation? Mr. De Jose, which one would you avail? Upon arrival or upon importation or before importation? Mr. De Jose, Mr. De Jose, Ms. Lily, pakiulit mo nga yung sagot mo, Mr. De Jose. Is it before or is it the 90 days or after importation po? Ms. Lily, yes? Which one would you avail if you're the importer? File a request after arrival or importation of the goods or file a request 90 days prior importation? Ano, no? Sumagot ka ng maayos. Anong sagot mo? 90 days prior ano? Prior what? Ayusin ang pagsasalita, ha? Mr. Karandang, let me, ano? Ani, hindi ko maintindihan nga eh. Mayla, ano ka? May ano ka? Hindi ko maintindihan, pakilakas! Huwag niyong painitin ang ulo ko, ha? May, ano, laso, ano, trangkaso, ano yung sinasabi mo? Ano yung ano yung laso? Ano yung laso? Tagalog ba yan o Kapampangan? Mr. Karandang, alin ang sagot? Alin ang maganda? Upon arrival or upon importation, you file a request, or 90 days prior importation? Tingnan nyo to, ha? Sandali, paliliwanag ko. Miss Gutierrez, makinig ka, ha? Pag dumating na yung kargamento at magre-request ka pa lang, ilang araw bago mag-decide si Tariff Commission? 30 days. So, the importer has to wait for 30 days, right? Now, what if kailangan ng importer? What if the shipment is urgently needed by the importer? Can they speed up the release? No, because there is a question. Tama ba? Unlike before importation, 90 days, within the 90 days period, nakapag-file ka na, definitely, prior importation or even prior arrival of the goods, there is already a ruling. Everything is already settled. So, ano po ang epekto nun pagka dumating na sa kakapala magpapile? You have to wait, right, Mr. Karandang? And if the importer has to wait for a ruling within 30 days, definitely there would be additional charges or incidental charges while the importer is waiting for the decision, right? Mr. Karandang? Tama ba? Ano magiging incidental charges while waiting for the ruling? Storage po, magkakaroon po ng storage yan because the shipment tariff classification is in question. Para po malaman kung ano yung tama, then the importer would be filing a request for a ruling even though the shipment has already arrived. Kaya lang po, mag-aantay si importer. And therefore, while waiting for a ruling from the Tariff Commission, then, mangyayari po dyan. Magkakaroon po ng incidental charges po on the part of the importer. And that incidental charges that I am referring to is storage charges po. Magkakaroon ng storage, tatamaan po. Dahil hindi makalabas. Now, if it is 90 days, that is safer, right, Mr. Karandang? Yan po ang ibig sabihin ko. Ibig sabihin po niyan, kung kayo po ang broker at ako importer, hindi tayo sigurado sa tariff classification and the corresponding rate of duty, then I would be, if you were the customs broker, I am the importer, and we are not both sure about the tariff classification and the corresponding rate of duty, then better to file it before 90 days before the importation. Para po pag dumating yung kargamento, at least, meron na pong ruling. Unlike if you will file it after the arrival, medyo maabala po ang importer at magkakaroon po ng incidental charges po. Such as the storage charges po. So again, class, if you are asked by your client as future customs broker, advise them to file at least 90 days para po walang hassle, para po bago dumating yung kargamento, may ruling na. Tama, Mr. Karandang? Ms. Gutierrez, ganun po ang isasagot ninyo. Ngayon, kung gusto nyo pong, kung hindi po kayo, kung nagmamadali po sila at parating na, pag dumating, or parating na, or dumating na, then, mag-aantay po tayo ng 30 days para po mag-rule. Kaya lang po, may tatamaan talaga na storage charges. Right, Mr. Karandang? Ganun po. So, which one is safer? Of course, the 90 days po. The purpose of the 90 days is at least prior importation or before arrival of the goods, the Tariff Commission would already rule as to what is the correct tariff classification and the corresponding rate of duty. Pakibasa nga uli, Ms. Gutierrez, yung any importer yes. Okay. Ayan, ha? So in other words, class, any importer or exporter. But under the second paragraph of 1100, the BOC may also ask for a ruling from the Tariff Commission if there is a dispute. Tandaan nyo yan, ha? Okay. Now, insofar as the effect of the ruling, 1104 po ang titignan ninyo. O, yan ha. The aggrieved party. Sino po yung aggrieved party? It may be the importer or the Bureau of Customs. Maliwanag po ba? Meron pong pwedeng gamitin si importer under 1106. Protest po. If not yet satisfied with protest, the importer may appeal the case to the CTA and up to the Supreme Court po. Now, if the ruling is unfavorable to the BOC, then the BOC can ask the Secretary of Finance to make a ruling also. Kung tama ba talaga yung ruling ng Tariff Commission. Maliwanag po ba? Yan po yun, no? Section 1106 for, okay, protest. Then, talo pa rin siya sa protest, punta siya sa CTA. Okay, class, ang sinasabi ko nagpo-protesta po ha, importer po. Talo si importer sa protest niya with the Commissioner of Customs, then punta siya sa CTA po. Appeal. Up to the Supreme Court po. Pwede siya. Now, in case the BOC is not satisfied, then 1127 and 1128 can be availed of by the BOC. Kung hindi po sila satisfied sa ruling ng Tariff Commission. In other words, class, whenever the Tariff Commission makes a ruling, it may be favorable to the other and it may be unfavorable to the other. Maliwanag po ba? Kumbaga, pagka nagdidesisyon po ang Tariff Commission, meron pong winner at meron pong loser. Right, Mr. Karandang? Hindi po pwedeng parehas silang panalo at parehas po silang talo. Meron pong mananalo at may matatalo. However, in case a party is aggrieved by a decision of the Tariff Commission, then the aggrieved party, the adverse party, or the party affected or adversely affected by the Tariff Commission has legal remedy. Importer, protest, then to the CTA, then to the Supreme Court. If it is a BOC, then the BOC can ask the Tariff Commission under Section 1127 or 1128 po. Maliwanag na po ba, Mr. Karandang and Ms. Gutierrez? Okay. What about you, Ms. Alili? Maliwanag na po? Now, second sentence, Ms. Gutierrez, the application. Okay, ganito po, no? Whenever an importer wants or requests the Tariff Commission to make a ruling, it cannot be made orally. It must be always in writing po. Tandaan ninyo yan, hindi pwedeng pumunta ka doon, magbubunga nga ka, hindi po. It must be properly documented. In other words, it must be in writing po. Now, the request for the tariff classification shall be accompanied by a brochure, catalogs, pictures, or sample of the item to be classified if it is possible po. Now, remember class, whenever an importer requests for a ruling from the Tariff Commission, the importer must see to it that he or she is in good faith po. And, of course, the item to be classified by the Tariff Commission is not specifically classified in the AHTN po. Now, Mr. Karandang, can you explain to me, whenever the Tariff Commission or whenever the importer asks for a ruling from the Tariff Commission, the importer must be in good faith. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Mr. Almete? Yes, can you explain to me what does in good faith? The importer must be in good faith. Okay. Now, Ms. Gamotea, what do you mean by the importer should be in good faith? Mr. De Guzman, dapat po ano? Sincere. Oh, tama, sincere. Parang yung manliligaw sa'yo, dapat sincere, di ba? Ganun yun, Ms. Gutierrez, right? Mr. De Guzman, what do you mean by the importer must be in good faith? When can you say that the importer is sincere? O, babalik ko sa inyo. Sige nga. Nagtatanong ka. Okay. O ngayon, when can you say that the importer asking for a ruling is in good faith or sincere about his request or about her request? Miss Manabat? Oh, Miss Manabat, long time no see ah. Nandiyan ka pa. Wala, buhay pa. Akala ko nag-drop na to si Miss Manabat. Okay, Miss Manabat, you. Oh, ba't naghihikab ka dito? Miss Luna, you. Miss Luna. Ba, wala. Absent na mo si Miss Luna. Absent daw. Yes, Miss Luna, when can you say that the importer asking for request is in good faith or sincere? Miss Gabionsa? Yes, when can you say that the importer is in good faith? Ganon. Listen to this, Mr. Karandang, Ms. Gutierrez, and Mr. Almete, and the rest of you. Kung alam mo na, at nagtatanong ka pa, how would you describe, or if the importer knew already what is the correct rate of duty and still asking the Tariff Commission to make a ruling, would you describe the importer in good faith or sincere, Mr. Karandang? Alam mo na, nagtatanong ka pa? Kasi po, pag alam mo na, ba't magtatanong ka pa? Let's say, alam mo ng 7%. And you still ask, alam mo ng 7%. But the problem is the importer has asked the Tariff Commission to make a ruling. So, kung ikaw, Mr. Karandang, you know already that it is already 7% and you still ask the tariff commission, what are you expecting from the tariff commission? Hindi ka muna, tanong ko nga, alam mo na 7%. Kaya lang, nagtanong ka pa. You ask the tariff commission to make a ruling. What you are hoping is to the tariff commission to make a ruling. Not 7%, but 5%, right? Tama po ba? Ibig sabihin, alam mo ng 7%, kaya lang nagtanong ka pa sa tariff commission. And you are anticipating that the tariff commission would rule instead of 7% but 5%. Are you in good faith? In bad faith ka kasi alam mo na eh. Ngayon, pag nag-rule po, alam mo na, Mr. Karandang, Ms. Gutierrez na 7%, nag-rule ngayon ang tariff commission 5%. Which one are you going to use? 7% or 5% po? 5% po. Kasi po, yun ang ruling ng tariff commission. At pwede pong gamitin ni importer yung ruling ni tariff commission against the BOC po. Right, Mr. Karandang? Now, question, if the importer knew already that the correct rate of duty is 7% and still the importer filed an application for ruling, how would you describe the importer? Okay, alam mo na nga 7% eh. So you're expecting a lower rate than 7%, right? And in that case, you are in bad faith po. Maliwanag po ba? Ang masakit nun, sinusubukan mo ang tariff commission, alam mo ng 7%, nag-rule ang tariff commission, 10%. Patay. Yan po ang problema. Right? Maliwanag po ba? Maliwanag po ba? So, ibig sabihin, if the importer knew already the correct rate of duty and still filed an application hoping for a lower rate of duty ruling by the tariff commission, then the importer is considered in bad faith po. Maliwanag, Mr. Karandang? Alam mo ni. Tapos magtatanong ka pa. Bakit ka nagtatanong? Because you're expecting or you are anticipating the tariff commission would rule a lower rate of duty. Pagka po 7 ang alam mo na eh. Tapos 5% po ang ruling. Anong gagamitin mo? Of course, the 5%. Nakatipid ka ng 2%, right, Mr. Karandang? Tama po ba? Yes. So, yun po ang ibig sabihin ng good faith. Now, good faith means the importer has no knowledge on the correct rate of duty. Sabihin, wala siyang alam. Kaya nga nagtatanong siya. Pero pag may alam na siya at nagtanong pa siya, that is in bad faith. Whenever the tariff commission or whenever the importer asks for a ruling, it is a requirement that the importer asking should be or must be in good faith. Kasi bakit? Kung ako, alam ko na magtatanong ako. Titingnan natin, susubukan nga natin ng tariff commission. Di ba ang pangit pakinggan? Susubukan natin kung ano ang magiging ruling nila. Tama ba, Mr. Karandang? Ngayon, nag-rule ang tariff commission 10%. Ano gagamitin mo? 10% or 7%? Teka muna. Alam mo 7% ang tama. Nag-rule ng 10% ng tariff ko. Anong gagamitin mo? Ako gagamitin ko 7% kasi yun ang alam kong tama. Sinusubukan ko lang sila, nagkamali sila. Right? Huwag mong gagamitin yung 10%, ang gamitin mo 7%. Because 7%, you can argue and debate that 7% with the BOC. At least, kaya mong patunayan na talagang 7%. Kaya lang po, nagtanong ka pa eh. What if the ruling of the tariff commission is 5%? Are you going to use the 7%? Of course not. Gagamitin mo yung ruling nila. In either case, you are in bad faith po. You are making a mockery of this Section 1100. Huwag yung gagamitin yan para lang subukan ang tariff commission. Did you get it? Kung alam mo na at yung item is specifically classified in the book, Are you going to ask the Tariff Commission for a ruling? Of course not. Alam mo na eh. At saka yung item is specifically classified. Are you getting me, guys? So pag alam mo na, ang rate of duty at yung item is specifically classified in the book, in the AHTN, there is no need for you to ask for a ruling. Kasi bakit? Class, pag nakita ng Tariff Commission yung request mo, andito to sa libro na to, ba't kailangan pang mag-request itong importer na to? Ano bang klaseng importer to? Hindi niya alam na ito'y specifically classified. Class, whenever an importer asks for a ruling from the Tariff Commission, hindi po siya libre. The importer has to pay a certain fee. Ang tawag po doon, application or ruling application fee. That is around 500 pesos. So pag nag-file po ang importer, magbabayad po yan. Hindi po, the Tariff Commission will not act on the request for ruling if the importer has not paid the required application fee. Pag walang application fee, ay hindi gagalawin yan. So in other words, class, whenever an importer files an application with the Tariff Commission, it has to be, or the corresponding fee must be paid by the importer. Otherwise, the Tariff Commission will not act on the classification. Tama, Mr. Karandang? Ngayon, nakita ng Tariff Commission na yung item na nire-request mo is specifically classified. Hindi na kailangan maggawa ng ruling. Di ba sayang yung binayad mong fee, right? Tama? Hindi na kailangan mag-request kasi bakit? Yung item na sinasabi mo is already classified in the book, in the AHTN. So there is no need for you to ask a request or to ask for a ruling or to request for a ruling kasi po, sayang yung ibabayad mo. Now, whenever the importer asks for a ruling for an item to be imported, the item should not be specifically classified. Pagka-classified na po yan, sayang ang pera mo. Alam mo na pala nandun na pala sa libro Right? And normally, these requests or products covered by this request are new items po. Yung wala talaga sa libro. Kaya po, nagtatanong si importer sa Tariff Commission. Dahil po if the item or product is not new, and the item or product is already classified in the book, why make a request? Nandiyan po sa libro. Kumuha ka lang po ng magaling na broker, makikita kung saan po ang tariff classification and plus, of course, the corresponding rate of duty. Now, another question that I would like to ask here is, whenever is it necessary for the importer that the importer requesting a ruling classification, the letter is accompanied by at least a brochures or catalogs. Now, Ms. Gutierrez, what do you see in brochures or catalog? Ano po? Images. Okay. Mr. Karandang, what do you see in brochures or catalog? So, information as to the description, specification, etc., etc. po, right? Is there a need for the importer to submit brochures and catalog whenever the importer asks for ruling? Is there a need? Why? Why there is a need? Okay, that's it. How would the Tariff Commission classify the goods if they have no idea what it looks like and how does it look like. Right, Mr. Karandang? Tama po, kailangan po merong at least catalog or pictures or brochures describing the item to be classified. If it is possible, send or the importer send a sample. Tama ba, Mr. Karandang? Kung if it is possible, physically possible, then for the Tariff Commission to make a correct ruling, aside from catalog, brochures, sample of the item to be classified. If it is not possible, then at least brochures, pictures, and catalogs of the item to be classified. And these catalogs or brochure contains information saan gawa, anong gawa siya, bakal ba or plastic or kahoy, ano itsura, and the specification. Those are the information contained in the brochures and in the catalog. O, tandaan nyo yan, the brochures or catalog contains normally the physical picture or physical description of the goods plus specification and what materials has been used or had been used in manufacturing or producing the items to be or the item to be classified. Mr. Karandang, yan po ang laman ng brochures or catalog. Maliwanag po. Para po maging madali sa trabaho, yan po, pinapadala po yan para po maging madali ang trabaho ng Tariff Commission para po ma-classify nila ng tama. Now, if it is possible, physically possible, then kung kaya po, mag-attach ka rin po ng sample kung kaya po. But if it is not possible, then there is no need to attach a sample. Kung hindi po kayang magpadala ng sample, then, okay? Yung brochures and catalogs and pictures of the item to be would be enough and sufficient. Okay, guys. Mr. Almete, Ms. Gabiansa. Okay, let's now move on to the actual preparation of letter. Who can ask for a tariff classification ruling? Pwede po bang importer? Pwede po bang customs broker? Okay, so the answer is this. It's either the importer or the customs broker acting on behalf of the importer po. Okay? Pagka po importer ang nagre-request, ano pong letterhead ang gagamitin, Ms. Gamotea? Pagka po ang customs broker acting on behalf of the importer, it is the customs broker's letterhead po. Maliwanag po? Maliwanag po? Maliwanag po? Mr. Karandang, maliwanag ba? Ms. Manabat, maliwanag po ba? Okay. Mr. De Guzman, maliwanag? Ms. Dison? Ms. Rowena Dison, paging. Ms. Rowena Dison. Ba, walang sumasagot sa akin. Parang ano na, parang ano ba to? Are you still with me, Ms. Dison? Okay. Ms. Dison. Ms. Gutierrez, you. Wala si Ms. Dison. Pasensya ka na, ha? Okay. Pakibasa mo nga uli yung ano mo, letterhead mo. Hindi, kung gusto mo, parehas. Sige, parang nagtitipid ka. Okay, go. Okay, so address, contact number, address, office address, and email address, right, Miss Gutierrez? Okay. Mr. Karandang, pakibasa nga yung part ng letter ko. No, yeah. Date po, date. Doon tayo. Date, the actual date that the letter is prepared, right? Or submitted. Next, please. So, fourth floor, the period, then comma, West Insula, Condominium 135 West Avenue, comma, Quezon City. Yan po ang kumpletong address po. Now, subject please. Very basic naman po ang request eh. Very basic naman po yung subject matter. Since the chairman is either a woman or a man, hindi natin kilala, then we will be using an opening salutation of gentlemen po. Right? Okay. Now, my letter is that it is the customs broker who is asking for a ruling, right? Tama ba, Mr. Karandang? Pakibasa nga. Okay, neka muna. This is a letter made by a customs broker acting on behalf of the importer, right, Mr. Karandang? What if I would be asking you now, Ms. Gabianza, ikaw muna sumagot nito. Okay, assuming it is not the customs broker, okay, who is writing, asking the tariff commission, how would you prepare the body of the letter? Paano po magsisimula? Ang tanong ko, assuming hindi customs broker ang gagamitin mong letterhead, it is the importer. In other words, it is the importer who is requesting. Right, Mr. Karandang? O paano ang simula nung first paragraph mo? Anong meron bang ganung letter? Hindi pwede, kailangan magsalita ka. Diretsahan tayo, diretsahan tayo. Sige, sige. Ano no? Ano no? Paano? Paano simula mo? Paano simula mo? Ayos Diretso ka agad Miss Lakatan, how would you change the letter or the first part of the letter if it is the importer who is asking for a ruling? Paano po? Ito po, for and behalf, customs broker po ang nagre-request, right? Miss Gutierrez, Miss Lakatan? O, pakipalitan nga mismong importer. Ganun kagad. Sige, Mr. Karandang, para makita natin kung paano ko mag-construct ng letter. Grabe, no? Ginano, no? Ikaw, Miss Manabat, paano? Sige. Sulat nyo dyan, ito para pati safe kayo. The undersigned importer, the undersigned, past tense po yun, the undersigned importer would like to ask for the above subject. Ayan The undersigned importer would like to request for the above subject. Ibig sabihin po nung above subject, I am asking for. The undersigned importer would like to ask for the above subject pursuant so and so. Yun po yun. Ganun lang. Pakiulit mo nga, Mr. Karandang. O, yun. Dire-diretso na po. Dire-diretso na po. Tama po? So, ganun po. Huwag kayong magpapakilala, hindi ko kayo tinatanong. Ang tanong ang sabihin nyo, the undersigned, ibig sabihin, kung sino yung undersigned, kung sino po yung nakapirma sa request. Undersigned, past tense po yan. And undersigned is one word. Kasi po, pag ako nagpagawa nito, it may be or I may ask, okay, it is the customs broker asking for, or it is the importer asking for. Pagka nagkamali po kayo, gamit nyo CB, tapos the undersigned, importer, mali po kagad. Pagka po ang gamit mo naman is importer, ginamit mo ang for in behalf, mali rin ba, Mr. Karandang? Pagka po ang gamit mo is importer's letterhead, tapos yung ginamit mo for and in behalf, mali na po kagad. Tama po ba? Tama? Pagka po ang ginamit mo, CB's letterhead, tapos the undersigned importer would like to, mali na naman kagad, mali din po kagad. Kaya po, be careful on my situation. Maliwanag po? Maliwanag po. After the item described below, ano po ang nilalagay mo po? Okay, so, description of the goods, colon. Maliwanag po. Okay, country of origin. Ayan, kung sakasakali, mag-isip po kayo ng item. Ayan Mr. Almete, Ms. Gamotea, mag-iisip po kayo ng item that is not yet specifically classified in the book. Mr. Karandang. Mr. Karandang. Ms. Gutierrez. Ako ba maghahanap ng item na hindi pa na-classify o kayo? Mr. Karandang, tinatanong niya, kami sir, may question mark eh. Kayo ba maghahanap o ako? Ano no? Ano nga kung maghahanap kayo? Mag-isip kayo nung, yes, mag-isip kayo nung item which is not yet specifically classified in the book. So yung item na hindi pa talaga classified. And that's the reason why you are asking for a classification, right? Kasi kung classified na po siya, why the hell ask for a ruling, right, Mr. Karandang? So ang mag-iisip niyan, anong item kaya yan? Hindi ko alam. Bahala po kayo. Ngayon, item po, we're talking here of imported articles po. Article or articles po, or goods po. So, baka ma'am niya maglagay kayo ng item. Ang item ko, description of the goods, toothbrush. Naku, Diyos ko, nandun yan sa libro. Why ask for a ruling on the tariff classification of toothbrush? Nandyan na sa libro yan eh. Tama ba, Mr. Karandang? So, what are you going to indicate in the description of the goods is something that is not yet classified in the book, right? Yes, of course. Kasi kung nandyan na po yung item, ba't magre-request pa tayo ng classification? Di ba? Mr. Almete, right? Miss Luna, right? Hindi ka na kailangan mag-request. Tama ba? Miss Luna. Kasi kung nandyan na po, hindi mo na kailangan i-request. Tama? Magbibigay ako ng something, item that is not yet classified. Ako lang magbibigay, pero huwag niyong gagayahin, ha? Baka ma'am niya, maaring classified, but hindi siya specifically classified. Oh, inaantay nyo ba yung item na yon? Anong pwede kayong mag-ship? Bakit? Siyempre, titignan nyo ngayon. Magbibigay kayo ng item. Nasa libro na ba to? Pag nasa libro na, out. Pag wala pa sa libro, yan, pwede. Pero pagka nandiyan na sa libro, you cannot use that anymore. Gusto nyo magbigay ako? Sample. Yung ginagamit na parang laruan, Segway. Medyo wala pa sa libro yan. Alam ba yung Segway, Mr. Karandang? Parang skateboard yata siya na, ewan ko, hindi ko maintindihan. Basta ako, naliwanag? Yung Segway, yung ginagamit na parang motorized siya, tumatakbong kusa. Nakakita ka na ba ng Segway, Miss Gutierrez? Yeah, parang hoverboard po. Pero hindi po siya classified. May kaparehas. Kaya lang po, kung hindi po sigurado si importer, then ask the tariff commission, right? Ms. Gutierrez? Ay, yung pong helicopter na laruan na kumukuha ng picture, anong tawag mo doon, Mr. Karandang? Yung laruan na helicopter na minsan kinukunan nyo sa ibaba, anong tawag doon, Mr. Karandang? Drone po, yes po. Sample po yan. Huwag niyong gagayahin yung aking sample, ha? Baka may makita akong sample dyan. Wrong, kagad dyan, ha? Maliwanag po, Mr. Karandang, Ms. Gutierrez, Ms. Manabat, Ms. Gabionsa, Mr. Almete. Make your own items and make your own product or item to be classified and make sure that the item is not yet specifically classified. These are new items and normally these items involve what? Technology or technology po. Modern po items. Tama ba, Mr. Karandang? Yan, mag-iisip kayo. Hindi ko problema yan. Problema nyo yan. Make sure, ha? Next, country of origin. I will give that into the problem. I will indicate that in the problem po. Maliwanag? Okay, next paragraph, Ms. Gutierrez. Okay, ibig sabihin po niyan, sa first paragraph po, you're asking the tariff commission. In the second paragraph po, you are telling them that you are submitting specimen or samples together with the brochures for them to classify it correctly. Maliwanag po ba? Brochure, specimen. Specimen po means sample po yan. Catalog, brochure, and or technical description being submitted are true and correct. What does it mean, Mr. Karandang? Legit. What do you mean by true and correct? Yeah, Mr. Gutierrez, Ms. Gutierrez, what do you mean by true and correct? Yung mismong item, ano yon? Ms. Manabat? Walang halong biro, walang halong biro. Gano'n. Walang daya. Mr. Almete? Yes? What do you mean by true and correct? Ms. Lily, you? Okay, ganito po yan. True and correct means what is about to be imported is the same item which has been requested for classification. Maliwanag po? Mr. Karandang, naintindihan ba yung sinasabi ko? What is about to be imported is also the same item which has been requested for classification. Hindi po pwedeng magkaiba po. Did you get it? Yan po ibig sabihin. Kung ang ni-request mo po is Segway, then ang inire-request mong item to be classified is also Segway. Hindi po pwedeng magkaiba. Right, Mr. Karandang? Okay. Tandaan niyan. What is about to be imported is identical and the same to what has been requested for classification. It cannot be different items po. Otherwise, you are making a mockery of Section 1100. Did you get it, Mr. Karandang? Next paragraph, please. Oh, wala bang magbo-volunteer? Who is now asking additional information? Is it the importer or is it the tariff commission? Mr. Karandang. Who is asking for additional information? Hindi pa siya satisfied doon sa brochure and specimen of the item. Sino po ang nagre-request ng additional information? Is it the importer or is it the tariff commission? Tariff commission po. Ibig sabihin po niyan, the tariff commission is encountering difficulty in classifying the item, Mr. Almete. Ibig sabihin po, si tariff commission po, si Mr. Almete, nahihirapan po i-classify by looking at the item or by looking at the brochures or catalogs. Yan po ibig sabihin. Nahihirapan po sila. Ngayon, in order to classify it and in order to defeat the difficulty or to overcome the difficulty in classifying it, the Tariff Commission is asking additional information from the importer. Naintindihan, Mr. Almete, Ms. Gabionza, Ms. Gutierrez? Ibig sabihin po, nahihirapan si Tariff Commission, tinitignan niya po yung item, tinitignan niya po yung brochures, hindi niya po ma-classify pa rin. And the Tariff Commission needs additional information about the goods to be classified. Right, Mr. Karandang? Upon receipt of the request from the Tariff Commission, the importer is required to submit it within how many days? 10 working days. Monday to Friday, working days po. So, parang lumalabas, 2 linggo. Tama, Mr. Karandang? Now, assuming the importer failed to submit additional information within 10 days, what would be now the effect? So, what is now the effect of that to the importer? If the request is deemed to be withdrawn or canceled, or if the request is canceled or withdrawn, what is now the effect of that to the importer? Mr. Karandang, anong magiging epekto? Nakapag-apply nga siya. The problem is, the importer failed to submit additional information within 10 working days. And under the rule, if the importer failed to submit additional information as requested by the Tariff Commission within 10 working days, the request is deemed withdrawn or canceled, right? What is now the effect of that withdrawal or cancellation? Ms. Gutierrez, you. Ha? What would, ano? Hindi nga nakapag-submit eh. Nakapag-submit lang brochures and catalogs lang. Kaya lang po, the Tariff Commission needs additional information. However, the importer failed to submit the additional. Okay. No, the effect of that is that non-submission of the additional information will render the application canceled or withdrawn. So what is now the effect? Mr. Almete, ano effect nun? Ano magiging effect nun? Is the Tariff Commission still required to make a ruling? Hindi nga po, tinatanong ko, Mr. Karandang, I'm asking you, Mr. Almete and assuming hindi po nakapag-submit ng additional information, is there a need for the Tariff Commission to render a decision? Hindi na po. Hindi na po. Cancelled na siya, withdrawn na siya. Ibig sabihin, if the importer failed to submit additional information within the 10 working days period, the application for ruling is deemed cancelled or withdrawn. And there is no need for the Tariff Commission to rule. Right, Mr. Karandang? That's the first effect. Hindi na po kailangang magdesisyon kasi hindi ka nag-comply eh. Tama ba? So if the importer failed to comply with the submission of additional information as if he or she has not applied for, right? Hindi ka sumunod eh. Yun na requirement eh. Tama po ba? Another effect. Yes, Peter Karandang, another effect po. There is no need for the Tariff Commission to rule. Ano po pa ang second effect? No, kasi nga withdrawn or canceled na eh. Yes, Mr. Almete, ano effect po? Wala po. Wala po tayong protesta dito. Ano yung po protesta mo? Wala namang ruling eh. Tama ba, Mr. Karandang? Wala pong ruling. Ang epekto po nito, makinig po kayo. Sayang po ang ibinayang ng importer. That's the effect. Mr. Karandang, naintindihan mo yung sinabi ko? Kasi po, bago po tanggapin yung application for ruling mo, magbabayad ka muna ng application fee, right? 500 pesos yata. Ngayon, hindi ka nag-comply do sa additional information, the application is deemed withdrawn or cancelled. Sayang po yung binayad ng importer or broker po, right, Mr. Karandang? Anong nangyari? Sayang yung pera ng importer na binayaran ng customs broker, right? That's the effect. Naintindihan na? So there are two effects of the non-submission. Number one, the Tariff Commission shall not be required to render a decision. Number two, in case of non-submission, the application shall be deemed withdrawn or cancelled. And in that case, the application fee paid by either by the importer or customs broker shall go into waste po. Sayang lang po kasi po wala nang gagawin ng Tariff Commission. Right, Mr. Karandang? Okay, that's the effect. Next, please. Okay, broker's name and signature. Customs broker po. Then after that, company, the name of your customs brokerage po. Lagay nyo po yan dyan. Address, tax identification number, ako po magbibigay sa inyo. Mobile number, and email number or email address po. Yan po ay kasama. Maliwanag? So, after respectfully yours, then broker's name, signature, then customs broker, title po, then company po, kung anong pangalan ng customs brokerage nyo, then the office address, then tax identification number, then mobile number, then final or last is your email address. So, bakit po binibigay ito? Mr. Karandang, bakit po ibinibigay ito? In case there is a ruling, automatic po, this will be used by the Tariff Commission in informing the customs broker who applied for a ruling on behalf of the importer. Yan po ang gagamitin. Although, nakalagay po yan doon sa company letterhead, however, standard po yan. Pinalalagay po ng tariff commission yan. So the ruling may be sent to you either by calling you or by sending an email to you. Sino magpapadala? Of course, the tariff commission. Maliwanag po, yan po ang ipinalalagay ng tariff commission. So that in case a ruling has been made or rendered by the tariff commission, papadalan po kagad yung customs broker or the importer who asked for a ruling. Klaro po? Okay, yan po yun. Now, another letter request under Section 1101. And this time, it is not a tariff classification ruling. It is what? A ruling regarding what? Valuation. Oh. So sa 1100, ang issue po is tariff classification and rate of duty. Sir Karandang, are you getting me? Okay. Now, insofar as 1101, the issue here is no longer classification. It's what? Valuation po. Valuation. Valuation, either it is ex-work, FOB, CFR, or CIF po. In other words, again, the importer planning to import or has already imported may ask for the correct value of the items which has been imported by him or her, or which is he or she is planning to import. Now, in 1100, what is trying to be avoided by the importer is penalty or penalty of surcharge for misclassification. Now, in 1101, what is being or trying to be avoided by the importer is the penalty of surcharge for undervaluation. Both cases po, covered po sila ng 11 or 1400 po. Klaro po, guys? Ms. Gutierrez, what is the difference between 1100 and 1101? Sinabi ko na yun po ang difference. What else is the other difference? What is the other difference? Mr. Karandang, what is the difference? Mr. Almete, you? Yes, Ms. Gutierrez. Yes, Ms. Gutierrez. Yes, what's the difference? Hindi mo madistinguish. Ako, hindi ko rin madistinguish eh. Ms. Gabianza, you? Yes, you. Anong difference? Yes, Mr. Karandang. Baka nakita mo na yung difference eh. Sino yan? Ay, Miss Bulaon, nandyan ka pala. Kailan ka pa dumating? Kanina. Mali po eh, Mr. Karandang. Yan po ang difference. Sa Bureau of Customs po. Yan. Yan po, Miss Bulaon. Thank you, Mr. Karandang. At least, for your second attempt, nakuha mo yung pinupunto ko. In tariff in 1100, the letter is addressed to the Tariff Commission, while in 1101, the letter is addressed to the Bureau of Customs. Maliwanag po? Maliwanag po? Yan po ang difference. So, pag sinabi ninyo 1100, that is classification. While in 1101, it's valuation. So, yung isa po sa Tariff Commission, yung isa po sa Bureau of Customs. Pakibasa, Ms. Gutierrez, 1101, please. What are the valuation method used by the BOC, Ms. Gutierrez? Can you cite to me the valuation method, please? What are the valuation method under the WTO? Pakibanggit mo naman. Let's make a review. Ba, wala akong maalala. Ano ba yan? Nagka-amnesia ka na ba? Mr. Karandang, what are the valuation method? Today? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Almete. Baka deductive po, baka deductive po. Deductive po muna bago mag-computed. So those are the valuation method, Ms. Gutierrez. Maliwanag? Okay, so isiksik nyo sa kukotin nyo. Yung 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Today, I see district collector. Okay, district collectors pays. That's the mnemonics. That's the acronym po. Tama, Mr. Karandang? Mr. Karandang. Okay. Now, in case a valuation, advance ruling valuation, o advance po, hindi pa po dumarating yung kargamento, the importer is asking the BOC to rule on the value of the goods. And in filing the request for advance ruling, the importer is also required to observe the rule under section 1103 at least 90 days prior importation. Maliwanag, Ms. Gutierrez? Yan po ang requirements po. Maliwanag? Okay. Now, in case a request for evaluation ruling is submitted, again, sa Tariff Commission po, under 1100, the chairman is required to render a decision within 30 days from receipt of the request. Right, Mr. Karandang? Now, under Section 1101, upon receipt by the BOC, the commissioner is also required to render a valuation ruling within 30 days from receipt of the written request. Right, Mr. De Guzman, Mr. Karandang? Okay. Now, in case there is a request for advance ruling and there was an issue, ibig sabihin dumating na yung kargamento, and dumating yung kargamento, the importer is declaring only this, but the appraiser finding is bigger than what is declared by the importer. Is there an issue? Yes po. Kasi po, mababa ang idineklara ng importer. Mataas po ang findings ng appraiser. Maliwanag po ba? In case there is already a dispute and there is no request for advance ruling, the same case or dispute shall be again referred to Dito po sa board, sa BCRC po, the Valuation and Classification Review Committee po. Aliwanag po? Now, again, if the BCRC has to decide, again, meron po bang mananalo at may matatalo po, Mr. Karandang? O, yun sa 1100, nandun po ang procedure. Pag natalo po si importer, meron po siya. Pwede niyang gamitin yung 1106. Protest po. Pagdating po sa 11001 regarding value and the decision is not favorable to the importer, then the importer can avail of what? Section 1106 also. Under what? The so-called protest po. Magpo-protesta siya kasi mataas ang value na findings ng appraiser or customs officer. Maliwanag po ba? Now, pagka po favorable sa importer, swerte ang importer. Pagka hindi favorable sa importer and mataas po ang findings ng BCRC, then the importer is given a legal remedy. Oh, go! Your use, the importer is allowed to use Section 1106. Protest po. Mag-file ka ng protest tab. Because of what? Improper valuation po. Itinaas yung value eh. Maliwanag po? Now, dinala kay commissioner. Tapos, ang sabi ni commissioner, tama si appraiser. O, saan ka pupunta? Punta ka po ng CTA hanggang makarating po kayo ng Supreme Court. Right? O, yan. Ms. Gutierrez, let's now move on to section number 19, advanced valuation, please. In other words, class, whenever an application for valuation ruling is made, it is to be made formally. It has to be made, of course, in writing. And who shall make it? Of course, the importer. The importer and addressing the same letter or the letter to the Bureau of Customs. Asking the Bureau of Customs to make an advance ruling on the specific method to be used in appraising or valuating the goods price or goods value. Which may be either dumating na po or imported already or about to be imported po. Again, sabi ko nga sa inyo, to play safe, it's better to ask the BOC at least 90 days prior importation. Do not ask them when the goods is already here. Klaro, Mr. De Guzman, Mr. Karandang? Okay. The purpose of this advance ruling or request for ruling is very basic, to prevent or to avoid being penalized for a fine or surcharge for, not for misclassification, but for undervaluation pursuant to Section 1400. Yan po ang iniiwasan. Bakit po? Kasi po, pag nag-rule po ang Bureau of Customs regarding what value should be used by the importer, at dumating na po yung goods, at yung pong ruling na yon nakakabit po sa goods declaration, hindi na po pwedeng questionin ng appraiser yon. Kasi, yung pong ruling na to, galing na po sa inyo. Kaya ito po ang ginagamit namin in order to determine the correct dutiable value. Did you get it, Mr. Karandang? Okay, in other words, class, once the Bureau of Customs has rendered, ito po yung valueng dapat mong gamitin. Pag dumating po yung shipment at magpapile na po ng goods declaration, kung ano po yung value na ruling, yon po ang gagamitin ng importer. And the BOC can no longer question that. Why? Because it is already the ruling of the BOC. Did you get it, Mr. Karandang? Hindi mo na dapat tanungin yan. Maliwanag, Mr. Karandang? Kasi po galing na nga sa inyo yan, question ninyo ba? O, di ba, ang pangit naman yon, ruling ng BOC, tapos itong customs appraiser ayaw pumayag sa ruling ng BOC. Saka ba nagtatrabaho, Mr. Appraiser, sa BOC? O, ito po ruling na ng BOC to. Did you get it? Okay. Now, when to file? Who may file? Section 1103. When to file? Section 1103 po. Maliwanag po ba? Now, in case an importer asks for a valuation ruling, okay, it must be in writing and it must be again accompanied by brochures, catalog, pictures, or samples if possible of the articles to be subject of valuation ruling. Hindi po pwedeng wala nito. How can the BOC make a ruling on the appraisal or value of the goods if they don't have any idea how or what this item look like? Kailangan po makita nila kung ano itsura. Maliwanag po? Kung pwede lang po, magpadala po tayo ng samples para po makita nila to have the Bureau of Customs a clear view of what items is to be appraised para malaman nila kung magkano talaga ang value. Of course, in the catalog, it will also contain information as to what the articles is made of, what is the function or purpose of the item, maliwanag po ba? Where it has been produced or manufactured, yan po yung mga information. And of course, the specification of the items to be appraised. Klaro? Maliwanag po ba? The ruling shall be binding upon the BOC. Now, question, is that absolute or general? Pagka kasi po sa tariff classification, it is only general rule na the ruling of the Tariff Commission shall be binding upon the BOC. Kasi pagka hindi po sangayon si BOC, the BOC can go to the Secretary of Finance. But in this case, once the BOC makes a ruling, it shall be binding upon the parties. Sa importer, yan ang gagamitin mo. Pagdating sa BOC, kung ano yung ruling ng BOC, at yung appraiser kinwestiyon niya, the appraiser cannot question it. Why? Because it's already the ruling of the Bureau of Customs. In other words, it is somehow absolute. Wala na po exception. Pag hindi po sumangayon, okay, si importer, ang magiging exception lang po dyan is kung hindi ka sang-ayon, okay, punta ka sa section 1106. Pero pagka BOC po, dapat yan ang gamitin natin, Mr. BOC, kasi ruling na ng BOC to eh. Right, Mr. Karandang? Somehow, it is absolute on the part of the BOC, but somehow, it is not absolute on the part of the importer because if the importer is not satisfied with the valuation ruling, then the importer can avail of Section 1106 up to the CMTA and up to the Supreme Court. But on the part of the BOC, customs appraiser, yung customs appraiser, dapat sumunod ka dito, galing na sa commissioner ang ruling na yan. Is there any question? Is there any question? Okay. Now, nandito ba yung sample ng letter ko? Annex G. Sample of request for advance valuation ruling. Whose letterhead is to be used, Ms. Gabyonsa? Importer. What's the name of your importer, Ms. Gabyonsa? Ano yung MJ? Michael Jordan? Name mo. Akala ko kasi kung MJ. MJ ba? MJ, ano nakalagay? MJ Imports Incorporated. And where is your Office address, Miss Gabionza. Okay. Miss Manabat, may I hear from you what is your importer's letterhead or regarding your letterhead? Hindi ka pa nakapag-pass. Siguro mga next year, pwede ka na mag-pass niyan, Miss Manabat. Miss Alili, yeah, may I hear your importer's letterhead, please? Sino pa yung umiiyak na yan, Miss Alili? May umiiyak, may pinapalo ya. Mr. De Guzman, ayaw kong kausap to, may umiiyak. Ikaw, Mr. De Guzman, ang gusto kong kausapin. Mr. De Guzman, may I hear now the letter? Yes, the letter. Of course, we start with the date. Read the letter, please. Yes, actual date. Then, next, after the actual date, the Commissioner, the Bureau of Customs, Port Area, Manila. Tama? Subject po. Then, true. Kanino po ipapadala? Devaluation, classification, division. Class, devaluation and classification division is a part or a customs administrative division or unit of the BOC. Under po yan ng Bureau of Customs, BCD po. Diyan po kayo magpapadala ng sulat asking the BCD to render a valuation ruling on the value or price of the goods imported or about to be imported. Maliwanag, Mr. De Guzman? Gentlemen. Tama? Okay. After that, gentlemen, what's next, Ms. Gutierrez? Yes, go ahead. I know that. I know that. Alam ko yan. Okay. Yes, go ahead. Teka muna. Oh. Commercial value per piece. Who will give the value here? Is it the BOC or is it the importer? Mr. Karandang. No. What I'm asking here is who will give the value here? Is it the importer or is it the BOC? Why not the BOC? Nagre-request ka pa lang, kaya hindi pa maglalagay ang BOC dyan. Now, the value to be indicated under X work or FOB value is the value that what is known by the importer. In other words, class, the commercial value per piece, either X work or FOB, is what the importer believes to be the value. Right, Mr. Karandang? In other words, class, ang maglalagay dito ng value, it's the importer, whether it is $10 per piece, $15 per piece, that value to be declared here is what value believed by the importer as the correct value. However, it is subject to change or changes po, the value. Once the BCD has established the correct dutiable or the correct value po. Maliwanag po ba? So, ibig sabihin po, ito pong malalagay na value dito, yung value po na alam ng importer na alam niyang tama. And the value may be either X work or FOB value. Maliwanag po. Now, pwede po bang bumabayan? Would there be an instance that the value as found by the BCD would be lower than the declared X work or FOB value, Mr. Karandang? Pwede po bang ilagay, sabi ng BOC, yung value mo, $10 per piece. Ang findings namin, $9. Would the BOC do that? Na sasabihin nila sa importer na $9 lang dapat ang value gamitin mo. It should not be 10. No, they would not do that. Kung nakalagay dyan is $10 per piece, ang findings ng BCD is 9, sasabihin nila, your value is correct po. Tama po, Mr. Karandang? What if the findings of the BCD is not $9, not $10, but their findings is $12? Ano po sasabihin ng BOC? Ang gagamitin mo to avoid hassle and penalty or surcharge for undervaluation. Ito po yung the best na gamitin mo, $12 per piece. Maliwanag po ba? In every situation, palagi pong lamang ang BOC. Tama, Mr. Karandang? So pagka po mas mababa yung nakita ng BOC, mas mababa doon sa X work or FOB value that is believed to be the value by the importer, then the BOC would tell the importer, tama yung value mo. Tama, Mr. Karandang? Pagka po parehas lang, sasabihin, okay, tama yung value mo. Pero pag mas mataas yung nakita ng BCD, sasabihin niya sa importer, Mr. Importer, the correct value is this, not your declared value. Right, Mr. Karandang? Okay. Now, country of origin. Why country of origin is required? Mr. Karandang? Why country of origin is required? The BCD will compare, let's say, kung country of origin of the goods being request for advance ruling on value is from China, of course, the BCD would be also comparing that goods identical or similar, tama po ba? Or method 1 with the same goods coming from China also. Hindi po ba ganun? Yes, Mr. Karandang? Hindi po pwedeng ikumpara yung presyo ni importer na galing sa China at ikukumpare ng BCD na galing ng US. Tama po ba? First world country compared to a third world country price, hindi po pwedeng ganon. It should be what? First world versus first world price. Right, Mr. Karandang? Hindi po pwedeng gawa sa China, iko-compare mo sa gawa sa US. Or gawa po sa Pakistan, iko-compare mo sa gawa ng Canada. Hindi po pwede. Kailangan po the same stage of economic development po ang comparison. And ang comparison po, dapat po, kung ano yung item na nire-request, dapat po i-compare din sa isang item which is also identical to the what? To the item that is requested for valuation or advance ruling on valuation. Maliwanag? So ganun po ang comparison. Kaya po nilalagay ang country of origin and description of the goods. Klaro, guys? Hindi pwedeng si Gabyonsa ikumpara mo kay Miss Gutierrez. Lalo na kung si Miss Gabyonsa ay galing ng Japan at si Miss Gutierrez ay galing ng Korea. Kung parehas lang po ng stage development, silang dalawa, okay po pwede silang ikumpara ang presyo. Pero kung po si Miss Gutierrez ay galing ng India, tapos si Miss Gabyonsa galing po ng Canada or Australia, magkaiba po ang economic development nila. Alin ang mas mura? Yung galing ng India or yung galing ng Canada? Mr. Karandang. Yes, kaya po kung ang ikinukumpare nito, kung ang request po, yung galing po ng India, ang export value or FOB value, it should be also compared to a country or to the same product or identical product or to a country which has the same economic development. Maliwanag po ba, Mr. Karandang? Pag first world po, dapat i-convert mo rin sa first world, first world. Kaya lang po, nangyayari naman po yan kung wala po talagang kaparehas, saka ka po gagamit ng identical o gagamit ka ng similar. Naintindihan, Miss Gabionza, Miss Gutierrez? Okay, Miss Gutierrez, read the letter, please. Oh, in other words, what you have submitted as catalog, brochure, or sample of the items or specimen of the item are the same item that is to be imported by the importer. Maliwanag po, hindi pwedeng magkaiba po. Kaya po, true and correct po. Maliwanag? Next, please. Okay. Again, the request must be made in good faith. Ano ibig sabihin niya, Mr. Karandang? Pag alam mo na, huwag ka na magtatanong. Ganun lang kasimple, Mr. Karandang, right? Naintindihan? Pag alam mo na, and you are still asking for a request for valuation, then you are hoping and anticipating that the BOC will render a value less than what you know already. Right, Mr. Karandang? So, ibig sabihin, kung alam mo ng ganito ang presyo para isa, at nagtanong ka, kaya ka nagtatanong kasi you are trying to secure a ruling lower than the value you already knew. Right, Mr. Karandang? Then, if that would be the case, then the importer is not in good faith. It is in bad faith. Tama ba ba? Naghahanap po siya ng value na galing sa BOC na mas mababa doon sa alam niyang value. Ngayon, pag nalaman niyang mas mababa yung nakita ng BCD, yun ang gagamitin niya. Right, Mr. Karandang? Yan po yun. Maliwanag po. Ngayon, kung hindi mo pa alam, okay, you're in good faith. O ngayon, pagka po nakita ng BOC, mas yung diniklara mo, alam mo, yun talaga yun. Mas mataas ang nalaman. Yun po ang gagamitin ng BOC sa'yo. Kaya nagtanong ka eh. Let's say, ang alam mo, 10. Okay? You're in good faith kung hindi mo alam na 10. Pero kung alam mo na ng 10 yan at nagtanong ka pa sa BOC, you're in bad faith. Alam mo na pala eh. Ba't nagtatanong ka? Kaya kung nagtatanong, Mr. Importer, you are hoping or anticipating that the BOC, BCD, or the Valuation Classification Division would be rendering a value less than what you already knew. Right, Mr. Karandang? Kasi kung mas mababa ang makikita ng BCD, yun ang gagamitin ng importer. Ngayon, kung mas mataas mo makikita ng BCD, yun din po ang gagamitin ng importer. And the BOC can no longer question that. Kasi po, galing na po sa kanila yan. Tama? Okay, next paragraph, Ms. Gutierrez. Our failure to submit additional details as requested. Who requested? The BOC po. Kasi po, nahihirapan po silang i-appraise or i-value ang shipment or goods. That's the reason why the BOC is asking additional details and information as to the item to be imported po. Now, within the period required by the CMTA, wala naman po doon, no? Unlike in the Tariff Commission, 10 working days. Sa BOC po, kung kailan po pinadala, wala naman po sinasabi kung kailan po dapat isubmit yung additional info and details. However, failure on the part of the importer asking for valuation ruling to submit additional details within the period required by the BOC. Nakalagay po yan kung kailan po dapat isubmit. Kung 10 working days po, dapat isubmit. Otherwise, the application for valuation ruling shall be deemed withdrawn or cancelled again. Sayang po ang application fee pag nagkakataon. Ganun din po ang epekto. Maliwanag? Maliwanag po? Okay. Now, ilang letter po ang na-discuss ko sa inyo? Okay. Dalawa na po. Mr. Mr. Karandang, pang ilang module ito? Ilang letters ang nakalagay po sa module 2, sa module 2 po? Tatlo lang ba? Hanggang pagkatapos po nito mga letters nito, magsisimula na po ako sa section 400, right? Kasama na po yata yan. Tama po ba? Module 2? Tama ba? Yun po, sa module 2, kasama na po ba yon? Tama po ba? So therefore, I will be dismissing you early because I have to attend to something. Meron po kong gagawin sa baba. I have just finished and completed 2 letters for this morning. Letter under section 1100 and letter under 1101. But this afternoon, 1 to 2:30, I will be again meeting you for your OLC and I will discuss the letter for what? Tentative assessment or release. That is for afternoon. Maliwanag po? Okay. So, in the meantime, I will be dismissing you early. Dapat hanggang 12 tayo. Since meron pa naman tayong isa't kalating oras, i-discuss ko yung 30 minutes para sa tentative release or assessment, then I will give you the chance and opportunity to ask me if there are questions and clarifications. Yung isang oras po. Maliwanag po, Mr. Karandang, Ms. Manaba, Talili, Lakatan, Gabyonsa, Bulaon, and Almete. Maliwanag po? Okay. Sino nagbayad ng tubig doon kay Miss Kajanis? Meron na ba akong tubig doon? Kasi natutuyuan na ako eh. Meron na ba ako talagang tubig doon? Miss Gutierrez, sabi ni Miss Silvestre, pwede na daw akong kumuha ng tubig doon from Monday to Thursday. Is that true? Ganon. Pagka talagang bayaran, ang hirap ninyong kausapin, Mr. Karandang, ne. Sabi sa akin ni Miss Silvestre, Sir, may tubig ka na from Monday to Thursday. Tapos tatanungin ko itong 3A. Wala pa daw kayong alam. Ang hirap talaga, ang gagaling talaga ng 3A. Basta gastusan, nagiging choppy. Ay hindi, kasi nauuhaw na ako. Hindi ako kumuha ng tubig eh. Baka maya pagalitan ako ng tindahan eh. So, anong sinasabi mong may tubig ka dito? Okay, class. I'll be dismissing you now, but I have to meet you again between 1 to 2:30 for the last letter and, of course, the question and answer. The question or the online consultation. Maliwanag, Mr. Almete? Miss Gabionsa, klaro? Miss, no? Anong sabi? Klaro. Miss Bulaon? Yan. Yung susunod na ile-lecture ko sa inyo, it's about tentative assessment or release. And it is covered by section 4, nakalagay po dyan sa nyo. Section 420, sige. Kita nyo na. Hindi na naman kayo nagbasan eh. 413 ba? Tama ba? Tentative release? Okay, so yun ang ile-lecture ko kayo. Anong 400? 420 25 po. 425 po, tentative assessment. Anong pinagsasabi ninyo? Tama. Miss Bulaon, 425 ba o 413? Mr. Karandag, what section? 425 po. Okay, you're dismissed and see you again this afternoon po. Maliwanag?